Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, hello, welcome. So today I'm going to be talking about the things that I wish that I knew before I went into college. These are just some disclaimers that I have for my video. Some people don't go through the things that I've talked about. Some people, just have super smooth sailing through college. I went to a four-year university. I go to UCSB. It's like the top 5 public school in the nation. We're the 3rd UC. It's a pretty good school, and I actually struggled quite a bit. I was a straight A student in high school, and boy, was I in for a surprise. Also, last little disclaimer, I don't mean to scare you by saying any of these things. I'm just telling the world and putting this information out there because I wish that I had a little bit of a heads up, and I feel like when I have given people these heads up, they're a little bit more prepared for what's to come, and they do a little bit better, just like keeping those things in mind. Essentially, I'm just saying that I'm speaking on my own experiences and what I've been through. I can't speak for everybody. This is just my experience and the advice that I would give based off of my experience. The first set of tips that I'm going to give you is the tips for online schooling, because I know that most of you are probably here to just, jot down the quick computer tips, and so I'm going to let you do that. But if you want to stay later on, I have more like life advice per se for going into college and living on your own. So first of all, I'm going to go through my tips for online schooling. So I am going into my 4th year of college. I'm going to be a senior. Yay. So my freshman year of college, or my first year, there were massive fires in Southern California, and we had to be evacuated during my first set of finals, like that week, And so my finals either got postponed, they moved online, or they just got canceled altogether. And that was the case for a lot of people because our quarter got put on hold so we could not be burned to death, Fun things. So I actually had a little bit of experience going through the online process before, and now I have gone through it again. I had a set of finals at the end of my winter quarter, and then I had all of my spring quarter online. So I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I did a lot of things wrong, and so I'm going to tell you how to avoid doing those wrong things. So the first thing that I'm going to say is that, I don't know about you, but I use my laptop a lot for entertainment purposes. So I'll watch YouTube, browsing through Amazon, whatever it is. Like, open 2 separate tabs for school stuff and then keep one for entertainment and personal life. I felt like this was a really good way for me to define the line between work and social stuff, because it was really draining when I'd go to, watch a YouTube video to take a break, but then see my homework tab open on the other thing, just reminding me that it's either not done or I have more things to do. If you need to keep tabs open up a separate tab for social stuff so that you can kind of separate that work, school, life dynamic. Okay, so if you are working on a laptop at any point during your class schedule, try to elevate your screen a little bit, because I've noticed that when I'm looking down, it hurts my neck. I know a lot of other friends of mine were complaining about that too. And also make sure that wherever you're sitting, on your couch, on your bed, whatever it is, make sure you have good back support too. That makes me sound like a grandma, but it'll help you in the long run, because if you are uncomfortable doing schoolwork, like, you already don't want to do the schoolwork, let's be real. Let's not add on that extra obstacle. So the next thing, I found myself getting really unmotivated and discouraged with my classes being online. A little bit of backstory, I have some mental health issues that have greatly affected my schooling in the past, but something that sort of helped me break through the barrier, and I noticed a lot of my friends doing that too, is like, when you're feeling really unmotivated, at least do the bare minimum. Because one, if you do the bare minimum, my parents are teachers and they always say this, like, some points are better than a 0. So just do at least a little bit, do the bare minimum, maybe try to get a C, and then you have a C in that one, spot, and it's fine. If you want to work your way from that, you can. If you don't and you're okay with that grade, then that's fine. But also too, if you tell yourself like, okay, I'm just gonna do the bare minimum, once you start rolling through your process, you're probably just gonna be like, okay, well, like, if I have the time, I might as well just finish it or put in more effort. So just tell yourself, like, you're feeling really unmotivated, just do the bare minimum. Don't live your entire semester / quarter like that. You will end up with very mediocre and or bad grades. But if you find yourself in a slump, that's a good thing to tell yourself to kind of just get the ball rolling and make sure that you're actually doing something instead of nothing. Okay, so this next tip is something that I actually struggled with quite a bit, because a lot of my classes, like my lectures through Zoom, were asynchronous. So that means that they just recorded themselves and then posted it on our website, and we could watch it whenever. And that was really convenient, especially, you know, if you're working or, you know, you have things to do, you have other responsibilities, you are lazy, but it was really easy to get behind. So what I started to do at the end of my quarter was I made my own schedule of like when my lecture time would be, essentially. So it's like, okay, on Monday and Wednesday from, you know, this time to this time, I'm gonna watch my lectures for this class. And then from this time to this time, I'm gonna watch this other class. And it really helped. Not only do you get to make your own schedule, but also it helps you to sort of hold yourself accountable, because if you're like, okay, well, I need to be doing this at this time, it can kind of create like a structured routine for you, and I found that to be really helpful. So the next tip is that if you are in an environment where other people are also doing online work, I really recommend, if you can, you know, if they are 6 o'clock in the morning people and you are 6 o'clock in the afternoon type of person, you know, maybe this isn't for you, but if you find yourself sort of kind of overlapping with when other people in your environment are doing schoolwork, whether that be your roommates or maybe your parents or your siblings, whatever the case is, I recommend trying to synchronize when you're working with them for a couple of reasons. It's easier to work when other people are working. I found myself being more motivated when I was working on my homework and my lectures when my roommates were also working on their homework and their lectures. It just kind of creates more of a camaraderie, and it's like, okay, you know, study time, this is when I'm supposed to be doing schoolwork. Also, you're less likely to distract each other. So if one person is, you know, done for the day and they're making a TikTok in their bedroom, but you're still in the living room, you know, working on your homework, like, that's going to be a distraction. It might cause tension, you know, it'll just make things easier if you are able to kind of overlap your times a little bit. And then lastly, I don't know about you, but when I'm working and other people are not, I get major FOMO. Like, I don't want to be working, I want to be doing the fun thing that they're doing. I want to be watching YouTube or, you know, making that TikTok with them. So if you can, I definitely recommend trying to synchronize when the other people in the environment are working as well. So the next tip that I have is, if there are forums in your class, pay at least loose attention to them, because I was noticing that a lot of things that I was unsure about, or if I had questions about a homework problem, a lot of times other people also had those questions or were confused about the same thing, and then either the professor or other people will have answered their questions already. So even if you are not actively contributing to the forum, I definitely recommend at least like keeping a close eye on it, because, you know, there might be updates or, you know, questions answered that you have, or pay loose attention so that you have a little bit better insight into the class. This next tip is just kind of like a college life tip, and it's about emails. So 2 categories. First, professors will get so upset with you, professors and TAs. Make sure that if you have a question, before you email anybody, look at the syllabus, because like 9 times out of 10, the answer is on there. If you can avoid emailing them about a question that's specific, do it, because they get so many emails. We talk more later about, you know, emailing professors with concerns or whatever, but with questions about the class, read the syllabus first. The next tip that I'm going to say is, when you are emailing your professor, TA, administration, whoever, make sure that you say, you know, hello, whatever your intro is, and then you say, my name is Katie. Well, you know, you say your name. My name is so-and-so. Then in parentheses, write your perm number, and then be very, very short and sweet with your email. Don't add fluff, you know, just be very straight to the point. And then sign your name, be like sincerely, you know, your name, and then indent again and write your perm number again. Like, just put it an obnoxious amount of times so that they have that information and they don't have to go looking for it. And then also, if you're emailing a professor or a TA, it might be helpful to include your class number and the subject of your email, just so that if they're teaching multiple classes or whatever the case may be, it's easy to find your email and they know what it's about so they can answer it more readily, if that makes sense. Okay, so my final online schooling tip, and then we get into tips for the psyche, which I'm very excited about. My last tip for online schooling environment is don't be afraid to email your TAs or your professors. I know I just said, like, don't email them if you're gonna ask a question, you know, that's on the syllabus, but if you have genuine concern for the class or you have genuine interest in the class, you know, professors, a lot of the times, they're just big nerds. You know, if you're excited about their topic, they're gonna be excited to talk about it with you. Also, if you're concerned about something, you know, I go to a research university, so a lot of the intro professors are, not all of them want to be teaching, let's just say that. But, you know, if you're genuinely concerned and you reach out and say, you know, how can I do better? Or you go to their office hours, you know, they will most times try to help you. If they're a good person, they will most of the time try to help you. And it shows that you have genuine interest in the class. They start to recognize you, etc., etc. Also, once you get to upper division classes, you really need to start thinking about building good relationships with your professors, because letters of recommendation, they're gonna come up and bite me in the butt soon. But just start creating good relationships with professors so that you can have those letters of rec in your back pocket, just, you know, for future reference. Also, it's fun to talk to professors and like build a rapport with them. I have done that with very few professors, but the ones that I have done it with has been a really good experience. Okay, so now I'm gonna get into tips for your psyche. That is the most extra name on the planet, but you know, whatever. Okay, so a little bit of backstory again. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, I'm just kind of trying to give you some context. So in high school, I was a big fat overachiever. I was in 2 sports, I was in a lot of clubs, I was in leadership positions for those clubs, I was a straight A student, I always made top 25 for my class in terms of, you know, GPA and stuff. I was an overachiever. I was, you know, and then I got to college, and boy oh boy was I in for a topsy-turvy experience. So I went through a lot of struggles my first year just with things that nobody told me and I didn't realize were gonna be an actual problem. So this is why I'm here to tell you these things, because I don't want you to go through the same experience if you can avoid it. Okay, so the first thing that I'm gonna say is that your first year of college is where you are learning how to learn. What I mean by this is that your first year of college, you might not get the best grades. Learning in a college environment is significantly different than a high school environment, especially if you're going to a bigger university. Professors expect you to be accountable for yourself. A lot of the times you have to teach yourself things that they just expect you to know. You know, it's hard. It's a big transition. You go from a high school teacher, you know, holding your hand a lot of the times, to a professor just being like, read that textbook and then I'm gonna test you on it, you know, just like stuff like that. So you have to give yourself time to learn how to thrive in this new environment. And if that means that you're not getting super great grades your first year, like, that's okay. You know, you are learning how to learn. You are learning how to thrive in this new college environment, and it's hard. It's not an easy transition, you know, so just be prepared for that and don't be too hard on yourself during that time period. Okay, so the next tip is that if you got by in high school without studying, are you in for a trip? I was one of those people. I just, you know, paid attention in class, I did my homework, and I got A's on my tests. I was very lucky in that sense, but I never learned how to work hard for my grades. I still even struggle with it, and I'm about to be a senior in college. It's hard. It's a hard transition, but just be prepared. Like, if you kind of breeze through high school, you might not breeze through college. Maybe you're lucky, maybe you're just a genius and you can also breeze through college. But also keep in mind, this is coming from somebody who went from I'd say like a moderate level high school to a top, I'm really sounding like I'm bragging, a top university. Let's talk about identity crises. So Again, like I said, in high school, I was a smarty pants. Everybody knew me as a smarty pants. They all told me, when I was graduating, like, you're gonna do great things, Go, kill it in college. I mean, I still plan to do all those things, but you go from being a big fish in a small pond to being a big fish in a humongous pond with equally large and even bigger fish than you. And so I had a major identity crisis. I knew myself as the smart kid, and all of a sudden, I was not the smart kid anymore. I was the average kid, and sometimes below average kid. So having that part of my identity being taken away from me, I really struggled with that. I was like, who am I if I'm not good at school? And in reality, you are a lot more than being good at school. Even if that's what you identified with before, even if that's what you still identify with in college, you are more than just being a smart kid. So if you start to experience that, just know that it's normal, and maybe start to go through the process of, reaffirming yourself that you are more than your grades. You are more than success in school. It's not worth the identity crisis, but if it happens, you're not alone, boo. I feel you. So that kind of piggybacks onto my next topic of the cream of the crop. So I remember my mom came with me to my orientation, and they kind of had like a parent orientation and then a college student orientation. And I remember her coming out of a lecture, and essentially they warned her about the identity crisis thing. And they're like, your kids are used to being the cream of the crop, but now, you've scraped the foam off of all of the school, and then you plopped it into this new box. Like, there's gonna be a new pecking order now. You might not float all the way to the top, and that's okay. You are at a university of really intelligent people. Just because there's people that are smarter than you doesn't mean that you're not smart, doesn't mean that you're not valid. Hi, Editing Katie here. I also just kind of wanted to add that you can use that as motivation to push yourself even harder than you would have in the first place. Also, I want to say, even if you weren't thriving in high school, maybe that just wasn't the learning environment for you. I know a lot of people who went to high school, didn't do super great, and now they're doing better than I am in college. So it doesn't forget high school. High school is just God, college is a whole new world where you're going to be learning a lot of new things. Your high school self does not define your college self. You are going to be growing a lot. So, moving on. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to talk about is make time for your friends in college. I'm saying this for a couple of different reasons. So in high school, I developed a lot of unhealthy study habits. I developed a lot of unhealthy lifestyle habits. I would stay up like 3 nights in a row studying, and it was bad. I had very unhealthy study habits, and I would just block out my friends. I'd be like, I'm busy. I don't have time to socialize. I don't have time. I need to be doing school. And that was sad. I was sad in high school. I was living quite a sad existence. And then I came to college, and I made all of these amazing friends who I wanted to spend time with. Hi, Editing Katie again. Not to say that I didn't want to hang out with my friends in high school, just being in that new environment taught me that I needed to prioritize my friendships instead of just being really passive about them. I loved the friendships that I had in high school. Prioritize them, this is a great time to invest in lifelong friendships. I also say that because, if you have this insane and unhealthy work ethic where you're just grinding and keeping your head down, you're gonna burn yourself out a lot faster than if you prioritize, okay, I'm gonna spend this amount of time studying, and then I'm gonna leave myself some leisure time and to hang out with my friends. That's important. Your well-being is more important than school. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that as a high school student. I'm gonna say this again. Your well-being is more important than your grades. I know they say like GPA is forever, this is temporary, whatever, but I had this breaking point my second year of college where I was just so burnt out. I was having a horrible time. I'll talk about this more later when we talk about switching your major, but I was horribly sad. I was so sad. I have this picture of me crying in my car because I thought that I failed the final. When I realized that if I prioritize my time, if I'm like, I want to make my friends a priority, if I want to make leisure time a priority, that means that I have to structure my day so that I know that I'm working hard and getting stuff done, and then I can hang out with my friends and not become a crazy person. Friends keep you sane, even though, you know, sometimes you gotta be crazy, but whatever, we're not talking about that. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, probably you're going to hear this so many times. You're also going to hear a bunch of people saying, well, it's, you know, you're too old to switch your major. Don't switch your major, you're going to fall so far behind. You know, just like stuff like that. I remember I went back home after I'd switched my major, and this guy was like, oh, aren't you a little far at the river for that? No. Anyways, it's okay to switch your major. If you are unhappy, if you're not thriving in your major, switch your major. I remember second year biology at my school. You're gonna hear a lot of stories from ex-biology students when you come, at least to UCSB. The second year, they call it the weeder year because they are so awful to you. It weeds a bunch of people out. It weeded me out. I actually almost made it all the way through, but I still pulled out because I was like, I don't like being treated this way as a student. A concept. They literally want you to be taking, what is it, like biology, OChem lab, physics, and a GE in a quarter. Keep in mind, a quarter is 10 weeks. I, on average, probably take like 3 to 4 classes, 2 of them being my major classes, and then 1 of them being, you know, a GE. 4 major classes, STEM major classes with a GE, like it's awful. I didn't do that, but even with like the bare minimum to get by, I struggled and it was horrible. And I was like, I don't want to quit. I want to keep with my major. At the end of my second year, I'm like, I'm too far gone, but no, you are not. It's okay. I switched at the end of my fall quarter, my junior year, my 3rd year of college, and I'm set to graduate on time. I mean, as long as I pass everything, I'll be graduating perfectly on time. And I mean, it helps that I was going from biology to a semi-STEM related major. I'm in psychological and brain sciences, but so that has a lot of overlap with our GEs and stuff. But even if you're switching completely, like if that's what's gonna make you happy and you have the monetary funds and everything to, you know, maybe take that extra summer class or whatever, do it. You can also just, you know, structure out your classes, go to an advisor and structure out your classes. So maybe you have like every winter quarter, I don't recommend winter quarter being your hard quarter, but maybe like every winter quarter you have, you know, double up on classes, or, you know, just add like 2 extra and have that be your hard quarter and just prepare for that mentally. It's worth it in the long run to be studying something that you're actually passionate about and that you want to be in and where you feel like you fit. Because there was so much resistance for me in biology. I hated it. I was having a horrible time. I wanted to drop out of college. I thought that like I wasn't gonna cut it. And then literally as soon as I switched my major, I got almost all A's, and I had never done that before. So you thrive, you know, in the environment that you're supposed to be in. So if you think that you should switch your major, switch your major. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, because that's, in the long run, it's just gonna make you more unhappy. Anyways, I digress. Okay, so the last thing that I'm gonna talk about is something that I'm actually really passionate about. One of my cousins is going to college this year, and a piece of advice that I gave him, this is like the biggest one that I told him, this is your time to question things. College is the most optimal time, you know, this age is a really good time to question the things that you've been told all growing up. For most people, you've been in one environment for a really long time. You've never seen anything else. Now, as I'm about to graduate college, I have very different views than what I originally came into college with, and I am very grateful for that. And those things wouldn't have happened if I didn't start questioning what I had been told all of my life. Not necessarily like from family environments, but maybe from family environments, maybe just the people that you're surrounded by. Your beliefs will end up being stronger in the end if you question them. When you ask yourself the tough questions about your beliefs, when you do the research on your beliefs, and when you keep an open mind to other things. things. If you're not asking yourself the hard, like, well, you know, why do I believe this? Why do I do this way? Why do I view others this way? If you don't ask yourself those questions and maybe change and tweak your belief in the process, if somebody else is going to ask you those why questions, how are you going to answer? You know, you do the loop around, and if you come back to what you originally believed in, cool. Now you have gone through that runaround. If somebody questions you, you're able to walk them through that process and be like, this is why I believe these things. And then you can have civil, you know, arguments about it. You can have, you know, conversation where it's not going to be defensive because you're like, well, my dad told me. Nobody likes that person, you know? It's like, why can't you think for yourself? You need this time to grow as an individual and know and figure out what you actually believe in, what you're passionate about, all of those things. This is the best time to do it. You are going to be so much happier if you start questioning things. Your beliefs are going to be stronger when you have passion and research to back it. I could talk about this forever, so I'm going to stop talking about it, but if you have any more questions or you'd like me to delve deeper on it, comment down below. You can also DM me on Instagram. I don't know how many people are actually going to see this because I'm a baby YouTube channel, but I'd be happy to talk to you about it. I really wish that I had more people kind of from an upperclassman standpoint to talk to about these things because I felt very in the dark. But okay, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked what I had to say, you know, give it a like, maybe even subscribe. I'm kind of a cool person. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that this helps you. Congratulations on going to college, and I hope that you have a great year. I know that if you're watching this in 2020, you know, this is kind of a sucky situation to be in. Try to make the best of it. Do your part to try and minimize the threat of COVID so that we can potentially have a year in person. That'd be cool, you know, kind of my senior year and your first year. We're all in it together, you know, reach out to your friends, do your best, and I hope that you're staying safe and healthy. Also, arrest the police officers that killed Breonna Taylor. Been a really long time, so let's get on that. Thank you for watching. I hope to see y'all in my next video. I plan to be posting pretty regularly on Wednesdays now, so subscribe if you'd like to see more of my consistent content. I will see y'all next time. Bye!